When you have a message that's whatever you need, I can do it. It does work at lower levels where they're sort of looking for that best available athlete. But when you get to the more senior levels, they need the expertise that's right for them. And they need somebody that's more of a guide and a navigator or a Sherpa than they do somebody who's just going to sit there and say, tell me your problem and I can fix that problem, whatever it is. Because what happens, there's this interesting element when you say, how do people get into these conversations? People that get a job through network in positions that are 150K and below. The interesting thing is those people get a job through network. It's usually a first degree connection.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've worked with a boss. The boss goes on to a different job. The boss calls you up and they say, hey, Tim, I want you to come do the same thing you did for me there. I want you to do it for you here. I want you to do it for me here. I mean, I've worked with people in my headhunting career that followed the same boss for 20 years throughout jobs. But you get to a certain level and that's done. Those bosses, they're either in the job or they're retired or they're your competition. So what we find is for the executive crowd, those people, when they get in through network, it's usually a second or third degree connection, which means that that value story has to travel a little bit. And there's two ways that we can get, well, there's three ways that we can get into a conversation with our network. So there's the random chance meeting, which we talked about. There, or really just two other ways. Inbound, meaning they find you, or outbound, meaning you find them. Both of those two ways, meaning like somebody's going to search and find you on LinkedIn, and outbound, meaning you're going to go out to them, in order for this to be successful, require you to know first what that value proposition is. Because if you're the mistake people make when they say, oh, I can come up with a value proposition, I add value to companies. So that doesn't tell me anything. That doesn't give me anything distinct and concrete enough for me to connect the neurons in my brain and say, you should talk to so-and-so about this. So inbound means that we have to first figure out what that value proposition is and then reverse engineer it by optimizing you to be found for that on LinkedIn.